You know what nobody tells you about the power going out for good? It's not the big dramatic moment that gets you. It's the quiet Tuesday night when you realize the hum from the refrigerator has been gone for hours and the food you spent hundreds of dollars on is starting to spoil. It's standing in the dark, listening to your neighbors starting to panic, their voices sharp and scared in the street. It's watching your phone flash that final 1% battery warning, knowing it's about to become a useless brick. That's when you understand. That's when you realize that all the things we depend on, heat, communication, safety, are hanging by a very thin thread. But while they're fumbling for candles and flashlights with dead batteries, you're not panicking. You're walking to your garage with a purpose. You unpack a piece of gear, you make a simple connection, and you flip a switch. This is the difference between being a victim of the crisis and being the shepherd for your family. It's the result of a plan. I've been prepping since 2012, and let me tell you, reliable power is the ultimate game changer. So today, I'm going to show you 12 power generation methods you can and should be stockpiling times now asterisk. We're going to cover the big whole home solutions and the pocket-sized gear that could literally save your life. This isn't about fear, it's about making a plan so you don't have to be afraid. Let's dive in. Number 1. Fixed solar panel arrays. First on our list is the big one, the cornerstone. This is the heavy hitter you see on self-sufficient homesteads for a reason, a fixed solar panel array. Now, we all know what these look like. They're the panels you see on roofs or on racks in a field. And they do one thing incredibly well. They take sunlight and turn it into DC, or direct current electricity. But here's the thing. You can't just plug your coffee maker into a solar panel. Most of your stuff runs on AC, or alternating current. So, the system needs a critical piece of gear called an inverter. Its job is to change that DC power from the panels into the AC power your house can actually use. But that brings up the obvious question. What happens at night? Or on a long stretch of dark, cloudy days? That's where the heart of the whole system comes in, the battery bank. All that extra power you generate on a bright, sunny day gets stored in these batteries. This creates a reservoir of power you can pull from 24/7. That right there is what gives you real energy security. With a good solar array and enough battery storage, you might not even realize the grid went down. Let's talk pros and cons. The pro is obvious. You're making your own free power from the sun. You're disconnected from the power company, their rising prices, and their fragile grid. These systems are silent, they don't produce fumes, and once they're set up, they're incredibly reliable. You basically just have to keep the panels clean. Now for the con, and let's not sugarcoat it. The initial upfront cost is a gut punch. A full system for your house is a major investment, often tens of thousands of dollars. Prices for panels have come down, sure, but the whole package, panels, inverter, racking, and especially the good batteries, is a serious financial commitment. And your power is still limited by the weather. If you live somewhere with very little sun or your property is covered in shade, this might not be your main solution. When you think about stockpiling this, you're not just buying a few panels. You're investing in a whole ecosystem. It requires real planning. But for anyone serious about long-term, grid-down preparedness, a fixed solar array isn't just an option. It's the foundation you build real self-reliance on. Number 2. Portable solar generators. Our second method takes the power of the sun and puts it into a box you can carry. We're talking about portable solar generators, and these things have become the Swiss Army knives of emergency power. A portable solar generator isn't a generator in the way most people think. It doesn't burn any fuel. It's really an all-in-one power station. Inside one box, you get a big battery, an inverter to give you wall outlets, a solar charge controller, and all the ports you need: AC, USB, 12-volt, you name it. You just unfold some portable solar panels, plug them in, point them at the sun, and you are making and storing your own power. The beauty of this is the plug-and-play simplicity. There's no wiring, no complicated install. You take it out of the box and you've got power in minutes. This makes them perfect for running the essentials: a small fridge, your laptops and phones, medical gear like a CPAP machine, or just some lights and a radio. The number one pro is portability. You can use it in your house, your apartment, or throw it in the truck and take it to a bug-out location. They're silent and fume-free, which means you can safely use them inside, unlike a gas generator. Plus, there's a huge range of options, from little units like the Anker Solix C300 for charging phones, to absolute monsters like the EcoFlow Delta Pro 3 that can run big stuff. Now, for the cons. You have to be realistic. This is not going to power your entire house, it's for running the critical loads. The power is finite, measured in watt-hours. A 1000 watt-hour unit is great for essentials, but it's not going to run your central AC. The other big limitation is recharge time. It can take hours of good direct sun to fill one of these up, and on a cloudy day, your recharge rate can slow to a trickle. You have to actively manage your power. When you're looking to stockpile one, the key is to match the unit to your actual needs. Don't just buy the biggest one. Figure out what you must run, add up the wattage, and that tells you what size you need. A popular mid-range one like the Jackery Explorer 1000 V2 is a solid choice for many. And here's a tip. Invest in the maximum solar panel wattage your unit can handle. Having more panels cuts your recharge time dramatically, which is critical when the sun is your only gas station. It's the perfect solution for renters, apartment dwellers, or as a backup to a bigger system. Number 3. Small-scale wind turbines. The sun is great, but it disappears every night. Our third method uses a force that can work around the clock, the wind. We're talking about small residential wind turbines. A wind turbine is basically the opposite of a fan. Instead of using power to make wind, it uses wind to make power. The wind spins the blades spin a generator, and you get electricity. Just like with solar, this power is then sent through a charge controller to fill up your battery bank, and an inverter turns it into power for your home. The single biggest advantage of wind is its ability to make power when solar can't at night, during storms, on those gray, overcast days. This is what makes it the perfect partner for a solar array. A hybrid solar-wind system is way more resilient. Bright, calm day, solar does the work. Cloudy, windy night, the turbine takes over. That synergy is the key to real, 24/7 off-grid power. However, and this is a big however, wind power is not for everyone. The most critical factor is your location. You need consistent wind, and not just a light breeze. Most of these turbines need an average wind speed of at least 10 to 12 miles per hour to be worth it. I've seen a lot of people overestimate the wind on their property. Before you even think about buying one, you should measure your wind speed for a while. Turbines also need height and space to get up into clean, non-turbulent air, which means a tall tower. That can be a huge issue with zoning laws and neighbors, especially in suburbs. There's also maintenance and noise. They aren't silent. Modern ones are pretty quiet, but they make a whooshing sound. And because they have moving parts, they need more regular checkups than a solar panel. The cost can be similar to a small solar setup. But for someone with the right property, a rural spot on a hill, a coastal area with sea breezes, a wind turbine is an incredible asset. It's not a standalone solution for most people, but as part of a diversified plan, its ability to generate power when the sun is down makes it incredibly valuable for the long haul. Number 4. Micro hydro systems. If solar is the people's choice and wind is for wide open spaces, then our fourth method, micro hydro, is the holy grail. I mean it. This is, hands down, the most reliable off-grid power there is, but only if you have the one critical thing it needs, flowing water on your property. A micro hydro system uses the energy from a stream or creek. A portion of the water is channeled into a pipe, which sends it downhill. As the water flows down, it builds up a lot of pressure. At the bottom, that high-pressure water shoots out of a nozzle and spins a turbine, which looks kind of like a sophisticated water wheel. The turbine spins a generator, and you have power. The water then just flows right back into the stream. The number one advantage is consistency. A good micro hydro system runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long. It doesn't care if it's sunny, cloudy, windy, or calm. Think about that. It's a constant, stable charge to your batteries, which means you can often get by with a smaller, cheaper battery bank. The power you get depends on head, how far the water drops vertically, and flow, how much water you have. But the cons are what make this so exclusive. Most people just don't have a year-round stream on their property. You also have to have the legal right to use that water, which can be a complex issue. The installation is also a lot more work than solar or wind. You're talking about plumbing, building a small intake, and protecting the turbine in a powerhouse. It's a real project. And the upfront cost is substantial, easily $15,000 to over $55,000 for a system that can power a home. I know some folks who have been living completely off-grid for over 17 years powered by a micro-hydro system. They haven't had a power bill this century. For the prepper lucky enough to have property with a viable stream, this is the ultimate solution. The investment is high, but the payoff is a level of energy security that nothing else can really touch. Number 5. High-capacity battery banks. Our fifth method isn't a way to times make times power, but without it, everything else is just a glorified hobby. I'm talking about the high-capacity battery bank. This is the absolute, non-negotiable heart of any serious off-grid system. Stockpiling batteries is just as important as stockpiling the gear to charge them. A battery bank is just a set of batteries wired together to store a large amount of energy. When you size a bank, you're looking at its capacity, measured in kilowatt-hours, kilowatt-hours. That number tells you how much juice you can hold. For decades, the standard was deep-cycle lead-acid batteries. They're relatively cheap up front and the technology is proven. But let's be honest, the tech is old. The biggest drawback is their depth of discharge. To make them last, you should only drain them to about 50% of their capacity. That means if you buy a 200 Ah battery bank, you really only have 100 Ah of usable energy. It's a raw deal. They're also incredibly heavy, bulky, and have a short lifespan of maybe 300 to 1,000 charge cycles. This is why the market has completely shifted to my preferred chemistry, lithium iron phosphate, or LiFePO4. The upfront cost is higher, but they are better in almost every single way for a prepper. First, you can safely use 80 to 100% of their capacity. That 100 Ah LiFePO4 battery gives you at least 80 Ah of usable power. They are also about half the weight of lead acid. But here's what makes them a true investment: their lifespan. A good LiFePO4 battery can handle 3,000 to 7,000 charge cycles. That means it could last you a decade or more. You might replace a lead-acid bank 3 or 4 times in that same period, which makes the lithium battery way cheaper in the long run. They're also safer and require basically no maintenance. Sizing your bank is critical. You have to do an energy audit. List every single thing you must times run, its wattage, and how many hours a day you'll run it. This gives you your daily energy use in watt-hours. Then, you decide on your days of autonomy, how many days you want to run without any sun or wind. If you need 3 kilowatt-hours per day, and you want 2 days of autonomy, you need 6 kilowatt-hours of usable times battery capacity. A battery bank is a big investment, but it's the component that turns an intermittent power source into a reliable 24/7 utility. Don't cheap out on your energy storage. Number 6. Gas and diesel generators. For method 6, we're turning to the classic brute force solution, the gasoline or diesel-powered generator. These have been the go-to for decades, and they absolutely still have a role to play. These are just internal combustion engines that spin an alternator to make electricity. As long as you can feed them fuel, you have power. The number one pro is power density. For a pretty low initial cost compared to a full solar setup, you can get a generator that puts out a massive amount of power, enough to run not just your fridge, but a well pump or even central air. And they don't care about the weather. However, the cons are serious, especially in a long-term grid-down scenario. Their biggest weakness is fuel. Your generator is just a loud paperweight without fuel, and guess what's one of the first things to disappear in a real crisis? Gasoline. Storing a lot of it is also a major fire hazard, and it goes bad over time. Then there are the operational hazards. I'm not kidding about this part. The biggest risk is carbon monoxide poisoning. These engines produce a deadly, odorless gas. They must be run outdoors, far away from any window or door. People die every single year from running a generator in their garage. They're also incredibly loud. In a grid-down situation, a loud generator is a giant advertisement that you have power, making you a target. So where does this fit in? A gas generator should not be your primary plan. It should be your backup to your backup. Imagine your solar batteries are dead after a week of storms. Firing up the generator for a few hours is the fastest way to recharge that bank. It's a bridge. When stockpiling, you need the generator, heavy-duty cords, and a safe supply of stabilized fuel, and multiple CO detectors. It's a powerful tool, but you have to respect how dangerous it is. Number 7. Dual fuel and tri-fuel generators. Building right on that last point, Method 7 fixes the biggest weakness of a traditional generator, its reliance on a single fuel. This is the dual fuel or tri-fuel generator, and it's a huge upgrade. A dual fuel generator is built to run on either gasoline or propane, the same stuff in your BBQ tank. A tri-fuel generator adds the ability to run on natural gas from your home's utility line. The advantage here is massive: fuel flexibility. This is a huge strategic win. Gasoline might be gone, but propane is stored differently and has an incredibly long shelf life. It doesn't go bad. You can store propane tanks for decades, making it a far better fuel for long-term stockpiling. This flexibility doubles or triples your resilience. Many preppers have a large 500 or 1,000-gallon propane tank for home heating. That tank could run a generator for weeks. If you have a tri-fuel model and the natural gas lines are still working, which they often are in local outages, you have a virtually unlimited fuel source. Brands like Champion, Westinghouse, and Duramax make great dual-fuel models like the powerful XP130000EH that are only slightly more expensive than gas-only versions. The cons are the same as a standard generator. They still make CO, they're still loud, and they need maintenance. You also get a little less power output when running on propane, usually 10-20% less, so you have to plan for that. For stockpiling, the strategy is clear. A dual-fuel generator is almost always a better buy. The advantage of having fuel options is too great to ignore. Focus on stockpiling propane. It gives you options, and in a crisis, options are life. Number 8. Propane heaters and wood stoves. So far, we've been talking a lot about electricity, but let's be real. In a winter grid-down scenario, the immediate goal is not freezing to death. Method 8 is about a different kind of power: heating power. For this, we look at two non-electric solutions: propane heaters and wood stoves. Let's start with propane heaters. Small, portable units like the Mr. Heater Buddy are perfect for heating a single room. They're incredibly efficient at turning fuel directly into life-saving warmth. And as we just discussed, propane is an excellent fuel to stockpile. The major con, and it's critical, is safety. Just like a generator, these consume oxygen and produce carbon monoxide. Indoor safe heaters have safety features like oxygen depletion sensors, but you must have proper ventilation and multiple working CO detectors. Never use an outdoor-only heater inside. Now for the ultimate off-grid heating solution: a wood stove. A wood stove is the pinnacle of heating self-sufficiency. It's a heavy-duty firebox that lets you safely burn wood to heat your home, and you can cook on top of most of them. The primary advantage is the fuel. If you live in a wooded area, your fuel is potentially endless and free for the cost of your own sweat. A well-managed woodlot can provide heat indefinitely. The disadvantages are real, though. Installation is a major project that has to be done right to avoid burning your house down, and you have to process the fuel cutting, splitting, and seasoning. Firewood is hard physical work. You need space and time. In a crisis, heat is just as vital as electricity. Stockpiling for this means having an indoor safe propane heater and propane as an immediate fix. For the dedicated prepper, it means investing in a wood stove and a serious stack of seasoned firewood. In a deep winter crisis, the hum of an inverter is nice, but the radiant glow of a wood stove is life itself. Number 9. Crank. Powered devices. We've covered massive systems. Now let's scale all the way down to your absolute last line of defense. Method 9 is about making power with nothing but your own muscle: hand crank devices. It might sound primitive, but in a situation where your generator is out of fuel and your batteries are dead, a crank-powered device will still work. The most essential of these are the emergency radios that also have a flashlight and sometimes a small solar panel. A good emergency crank radio will get AM, FM, but most importantly, NOAA weather band alerts. That information can be a lifesaver. It also has an LED flashlight for a reliable source of light. A minute or two of cranking can power the radio for 15 to 20 minutes. It's not a lot of power, but it's power you create from nothing. Many also have a USB port to give your phone a tiny bit of juice for an emergency call. Don't expect to charge your phone with it. 10 minutes of frantic cranking might get you 2 to 3%, but that could be enough. The pros are obvious. They are completely self-sufficient, portable, and cheap. You can have several of them stashed everywhere. The main con is the extremely low power output. This is for low-power tasks, listening and lighting. Another con is build quality. The market is flooded with cheap junk. You have to invest in a good one where the crank mechanism won't break on the first use. When stockpiling, don't just buy one, buy several. They're cheap enough for redundancy. A crank radio is a foundational piece of any emergency kit. It may not power your freezer, but the information it provides and the light it casts could be far more valuable. Number 10. Fuel cell systems. Moving from the most basic to the most advanced, our 10th method is something that's no longer science fiction: fuel cell systems. Specifically, we're looking at solid oxide fuel cells, or SOFCs. A fuel cell doesn't burn fuel. It uses a quiet electrochemical reaction to combine a fuel like natural gas or propane with oxygen to make electricity. The only byproducts are water, heat, and a small amount of CO2. The advantages are incredible. A generator might be 25–30% efficient. An SOFC can be up to 60% efficient. But here's where it gets better. They produce a lot of high-quality waste heat. In a system designed for combined heat and power, that heat can be captured to warm your house or your water, pushing the total efficiency up to 85–90%. They're also fuel flexible, nearly silent, and require very little maintenance. So what's the catch? The price tag and accessibility. This is still cutting-edge stuff for homes. The upfront cost is very high, more than a premium solar setup, and finding someone qualified to install one can be difficult. They also still require fuel, just like a generator. For the forward-thinking prepper with a big budget, an SOFC system is the absolute peak of stationary power. It combines the reliability of a generator with the quiet, clean operation of renewables. As the tech matures and costs come down, this will be a game changer. For now, it's an early adopter technology that offers a glimpse into the future of resilient power. Number 11. Standalone power banks. Our 11th method is the humble but incredibly useful power bank. We're not just talking about the little bricks for your phone, but a whole category of portable battery packs. A power bank is just a battery in a box with charging ports. Their real value is in convenience and efficiency. They are the easiest way to keep your personal electronics, your phone, satellite messenger, a tablet with maps running in the first critical days of a crisis. They're cheap, so you can stockpile a lot of them. They also make your whole power system more efficient. Instead of firing up your big, loud generator just to charge one phone, you run the generator for a few hours and charge 10 power banks at once. Then you turn the generator off and use the silent power banks for days to keep small devices going. This saves a ton of fuel and reduces noise. The con is that they are a finite source of power. Once they're empty, they're useless until you can recharge them from a solar panel, a generator, or your car. Also, cheap ones don't last. For long-term storage, invest in quality brands and store them at a 50–60% charge, topping them up once or twice a year to keep the battery healthy. Power banks are the foot soldiers of your energy plan. They aren't the heavy artillery, but their flexibility in keeping your most critical personal gear alive makes them an essential part of your stockpile. Number 12. Microgrids and smart systems. We've arrived at our final method, and it's less of a single item and more of a concept that represents the pinnacle of resilience: the home microgrid. Think of a microgrid as a smart, self-contained energy ecosystem. It's a system where your solar panels, your battery bank, and your backup generator all work together automatically. The brain of this system is a smart controller or a smart electrical panel. When the grid goes down, it instantly and automatically disconnects your house. It then manages your power resources for you. It pulls from your batteries first. If the batteries get low, it automatically starts your dual-fuel generator to recharge them. When the sun comes up, it switches back to free solar power and shuts the generator off to save fuel. The advantage is complete, seamless, automatic resilience. It maximizes your free, silent solar power and minimizes your use of stored fuel. You get the best of all worlds. The con is cost and complexity. This is the most expensive and technical option on our list. But you can scale into this concept. You can start today. Maybe you start with a portable solar generator. Later, you add a fixed solar array. Then you integrate a dual-fuel generator with an automatic transfer switch. Each step is another layer, making your system smarter and more robust. Stockpiling toward a microgrid means thinking systemically. It's moving beyond having just one way to make power and building a diverse, interconnected network. This is the end state for the serious prepper, not just a pile of gear, but a living system that guarantees power and security no matter what. So there you have it. 12 methods, from a simple hand crank radio to a fully intelligent home microgrid. The key takeaway is this: redundancy. Don't rely on a single solution. The goal is to create layers. Your primary system should be renewable and silent. Your secondary system should be a fuel-based backup to fill the gaps. And your tertiary system should be the simple, foolproof tools that work no matter what. Start where you are. If you have nothing, buy a good crank radio and a few power banks this week. Next month, maybe a small portable solar generator. If you own your home, start researching a permanent solar installation. The time to get this gear is now, while you can, while society is working. Waiting until the lights are out is waiting too long. I've been doing this since 2012, and the biggest lesson I've learned is that knowledge and preparation beat panic and desperation every single time. This isn't about fear, it's about taking responsibility. It's about trading anxiety for action. It's about ensuring that when the world goes dark, your light stays on. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more practical guides. I've put links in the description to some of the types of gear we talked about, including some of the generators and power banks I trust. Those are affiliate links, which means at no extra cost to you, they help support the channel so I can keep making content like this. Most importantly, I want to hear from you. What is the one step you are going to take this month to improve your power preparedness? Share it in the comments. Let's build a community of resilient people. Stay safe, stay prepared, and thanks for watching.